Oh shit, son, we are back in business. So, I'll throw those keys down. So, the van is back running again. I ended up calling my buddy Ian, who's a certified mechanic, and he came to help me out. And he's not a big fan of the being on camera thing, so we didn't really film anything. But I will say what he did do was we rewired up here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and interrupt myself, bring it back to the desk here to do a little recap. So I brought my friend Ian over. Like I said, didn't want to be on camera, so all we can do is a recap show. But Ian, certified mechanic, he brought me a bunch of these little pre-printed booklets, pass lock repair, some detailed breakdowns of some electrical connectors, because we did eventually narrow it down to an electrical problem. Yeah, so he printed off all this stuff that's probably in the factory manual, factory service manual, but I do not have that. So he printed it off, which was cool. We used these to retime the motor. Just be aware there's two marks on the crankshaft. So I replaced the distributor myself, and Ian just, I'm not really sure if you know what you're doing, because I don't. But we made sure the timing was great, and it was, so I guess I did it right. Some schematics. This is the important schematic. So Ian came over with a fancy test light that you hold a switch down and you could have positive power or ground. And then, like I said, it worked as a test light and also had a little graphing feature. It was pretty sweet. I wish you could have seen it, but my YouTube skills are mediocre. So basically this schematic, we got my ignition control module, ignition coil to the spark plugs. We basically tested all these and we determined that the wire that runs, basically the output of my ignition control module, which is the input, the signal wire to my coil, it was not producing signal. So that needed to be replaced. That was the problem. So we got a coil and we got an ignition control module. Basically, this is another little thing Ian gave me. It's an alligator clip on a pin. So we basically tested it by shoving this down the connector till you hit metal. Then you can test it. You can put on a little jumper wire. It's really handy. It was nice to have Ian over to give me a little lesson on doing this. But basically, this connector here on the coil, it had constant power, but the input wasn't doing anything, which is the output on one of these wires. I believe it's the pink wire. So we ended up, I had a junkyard connector because I went to the junkyard and got both connectors and one more of these. Yeah, so we just cut the wire, soldered on a new connection. We also tidied up some other wires while we were down there to make it look pretty. Ian has higher standards than I do, evidently, so he made it pretty. But this is the original coil harness. It has two wires coming out of it. So the new one I actually took out of a Blazer, which is the same thing, except it actually has a third wire, which will run a tack. So I left the extra wire on there, so eventually I could add a tack, because I have the OBD2 tack now, but I think I'd rather have a real tack, because it will have less lag, and my OBD2 tack is kind of mediocre. It cost me $39, and anyways, not that great. So yeah, it was just a cool hack, I guess I would say. Is getting one of these connectors from a Blazer, maybe anything other with a 4.3 liter as well, but definitely a Blazer has an extra wire to run a tack. So yeah, it ended up being a very simple problem. I probably could have diagnosed it on myself if I decided to go into the wiring diagnosis myself, but I just thought it was easier to call Ian. I believe some of you guys even suggested this wire might even be the problem. I had a bunch of people suggest that I had a wiring problem, which I did. And I do want to say I really appreciate the people taking the time out of their day to comment on what they think it could be. Some were helpful, some were not helpful. Somebody even took the time out of their day to email me wiring diagrams for the van. I ended up not using them, like I said, because I did call an Ian. But I was dangerously close to using them. And I really appreciate it. And I'm just excited to get back on the road, trying to film some of the content that I actually want to film, doing some van lifing, doing some camping, doing stuff that isn't bitching about my van being broken. So, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm very excited. I just want to say, like I said, thanks to everybody for taking the chance on some random guy on the internet with no views, watching me, trying to help me. Yeah, I can't thank you enough. So, yeah, that's pretty much the end of this video. As you can tell, I'm excited. So, have a good day, and let's fucking go. But I'll just phone Ian, get him to come over. I hope you can't hear my dog. God damn it, buddy. Why you gotta be like that?